The DJI Osmo Mobile 7 has a major flaw, and I think it's worth bringing up. I'm going to do a more in-depth video about the Osmo Mobile 7 after this, but this is something that I became aware of as soon as I turned this thing on and I started to use it. And I think it's a bit of a deal breaker for me, honestly, and it might be for you too, so it's worth knowing about it. So first of all, I think the thing is made pretty well, and it's a reasonable price at $89. They have the 7 and they have the 7P. The 7P has an additional mount to it, which will allow you to connect the DJI mic minis. It also has a light and a tracking feature as well. I didn't feel like it was something I needed, so I decided to get the cheaper Osmo Mobile 7. This thing is built well. It has a built-in stand for setting it down, and it has all of the features that you would expect on a gimbal. As you know, if you've been watching my videos, I do a lot of content on the Osmo Pocket 3, which of course has a built-in gimbal as well. And I'm loving that camera. But as I've started to use my iPhone 16 Pro Max, I decided to get a hold of this so I could get more steady shots and I can get more creative shots without messing up the horizon line and stuff like that. So naturally, I would think that another DJI gimbal would have the same range of motion as the Osmo Pocket 3 and my Ronin 3 for my professional cameras. Well, I was wrong, because the range of motion on this thing is significantly reduced from the Osmo Pocket 3 and the Ronin series of gimbals. And this thing heavily restricts some of the use cases that I would like to do with this thing, mainly being crane shots. I really like to put these things on selfie sticks, even the Osmo Pocket 3 that I'm filming on right now, and doing low to high crane shots with the horizon locked. Now, this does have a horizon lock mode, but the problem is as soon as you go to bring it down, it reaches the end of its range of motion and ends up pointing the camera downwards. And the same thing with having it pointing upwards as well. So if you were to try and bring this low and raise it up above you, eventually it's going to reach a point where the camera pans and starts facing the sky. And you don't want that for a crane shot. You want it to stay locked on the horizon. And that's just because of the way that this thing is designed. The motors kind of get in the way of themselves, so it can't have that full range of motion, which to me ended up being quite disappointing. Not only that, I do feel like there's an even bigger problem, because the way I personally, and I'd love to hear in the comments below what you think, would hold this is not vertically like this. I'm gonna want to hold it kind of out like this. It's kind of natural that I would grab that like this. Well, you can already see straight away that this, despite being on horizon level mode, the camera is facing slightly downwards. And even if I try and correct it by using the joystick, it will go a certain amount, but it's still facing down. And the more I kind of put my arm out here, the more it faces down towards the ground. And I cannot correct it by bringing that level to the horizon, no matter what I do with this joystick, because it's essentially reached the limits of the gimbal's capability. Which means if I want to film anything that's not the ground, I have to correct my own hand posture by bringing this more vertically and then correcting it. That also means that if I want to start to pan up, so I live near a cathedral, very tall, I want to capture all the different details up above. If I try and bring this upwards, that is the range of motion that I get. That's as high as I can film. So the only way I can get all the way up is by making sure this handle is completely vertical. Then I get that full range of motion, and still that is as high as it goes. So if I wanted to film, I don't know, birds in the sky, I would have to then physically move it up even further and then correct it that way, which for me is a major flaw in this product. I don't have the full range of motion, which means essentially all this is doing is keeping the camera horizon level from a landscape point of view, and it's also removing some of the little bumps that I'll have whilst walking as well. Of course, it's going to allow me to get a much smoother shot than I would get with the phone on its own, which might be the case for keeping this. And it does have some really good integrated features. It will allow you to zoom using this without any cables, and it allows you to record and stop recording, as well as some tracking features that are within the Mimo app. So it's not completely a waste of money, but super disappointing whenever I thought that I was going to get kind of a similar experience that I would get with the other Ronin or gimbaled cameras that DJI sells. I wanted to bring this to your attention before I do the full review and talk more in depth about this Osmo Mobile 7. Yeah, major bummer. I'm pretty not super stoked about that. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to know if you think this is an issue, whether it's not an issue, whether you think I'm crying over spilled milk and I should just get used to holding this more vertically. I'd love to know in the comments below. Does this mean it's a deal breaker for you? Were you looking at getting this and now you might be reconsidering? I know that the Insta360 gimbal does have the ability to do crane shots as well, so maybe that might be a good alternative. I appreciate you watching this video. I'm going to try and give you more tips and tricks and things that I find out about this tech. I will always try and give you my honest opinion on all of this technology. If you like this video, please subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one.